welcome.
I'm Lucia.
I'm Bri.
And this is Delulu Hour.
Woo!
Are we doing like what we're drinking?
Oh, yeah, I picked up this cute little Trader Joe's Zen Renwood Reserve.
It's
Honestly,
yummy.
it's good.
I didn't really know what a Zin was until recently, and I don't know why.
What is it?
I just meant
know?
like, I feel like
of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's really good. I feel like they're peppery, but I think that maybe I just had one peppery. Yeah. I don't know. They feel like spicy compared to like a Pinot.
Yeah.
That's my wine connoisseur thoughts.
Cheers to that. So yeah, we're just going to jump right into it. Recently, obviously, it was Father's Day.
Ooh,
and
happy Father's Day.
Just wanted to give a shout out to the dad I was back out there. No, but on a serious note, I think this is something that Bri and I can both relate on in terms of our father situations, but also for me personally, I don't know, I've always had an interesting relationship with my biological dad, and he hasn't always like stepped up or been the father figure that I wanted or needed in my life. And my stepdad came into my life when I was 5 and totally just like took on that role and responsibility, like no questions asked. And so I always get like a little bit mushy about it every now and then, but this Father's Day, like I called him in the morning, and it also happened to be my mom's birthday that day too. So I was talking to them both on speakerphone. I was like, happy Father's Day and happy birthday. And then that was kind of all I said though. And then at the end of the night, I was just in my feels, and I decided to like text him, and I was just like, hey, I just wanted to say happy Father's Day again. Like, you don't know how much this means to me that you stepped into my life like with open arms just to be an unconditional, loving father and stable father to me. Like, that means the world to me, and is something that like child me really needed. And I was like crying to myself, like just typing it out. But I was really proud of myself that I like sent it to him, because I feel like it's hard to be vulnerable, especially with male figures. And then he responded, and he was just like, you may not be my blood, but like you'll always be my daughter. And like it's just so sweet. I really appreciate all the stepdads out there that are like that. And I think it's such a huge accomplishment and I guess like undertaking that doesn't really get recognized. Like these men that like come into whatever family situation when there's already kids that the mom has, and they just fully take on responsibility. And I know your dad did the same.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I don't even know how it would be if it didn't happen. Like my biological dad left when I was in the womb. Did a little Dear John letter, exit, stage left when my mom was like, I don't know, 6 months pregnant or something. So I very much came to the world like just me and my mom kind of thing. And then 6 months into being in the world, my mom meets JG, best guy literally ever. Everyone who meets him loves him. And like my mom always talks about how even his stepmom like swooped me up in her arms and was just like immediately I was part of the family.
Yeah.
My dad has always been just like this perfect like father figure to me. I mean, he's obviously like was hard on me in sports and stuff, but like at the end of the day, he's somebody that I like fully look up to.
Yes.
And I feel like if you and I didn't have someone like that, like our expectations of men would be so much worse.
Yeah,
like,
literally.
Truly.
No, so. I know. I feel like things could have turned out so much shittier for me. And like I do have daddy issues, but like the fact that I have somebody in my life that's like a male father and stable figure is a huge help and a huge reason why I am like okay today and not totally fucked up.
No, exactly. I'm like, can't even imagine how much of a wreck I would be if that had not worked out for me. So thanks, Jason. Love you.
So yeah, I just wanted to send some love to all the stepdads out there that really, I don't know, they're just the real men.
I know. Well, I feel like in general, like step parents get that like expectation of, oh, it's awkward, oh, it's weird, like you're not really my parent, you're not really my kid, but I'm gonna do my best. And there's this kind of like negative connotation, and I also feel like men get a bad rep around, like I for sure am like men this, but like there are some amazing guys out there, and like our two dads are like such a great example of that, and like we're just super thankful. So
yeah,
I want to recognize y'all.
Yeah. What was your little delusional thing that you want to chat about?
So I've been in this like very strange headspace of like, okay, I'm making the money I want to be making, I'm doing the jobs I wanted to be doing, and when I started in like medical sales, I was like, this is where I'm meant to be. It was like the first time I left, I felt like that, and that was, I don't know, 2-3 years ago now. And then also with like having real estate on the side, I was like so excited about that, and then it's sort of just mellowed out. Not that I'm sure that I don't like it or not, I just don't know. I just feel like I'm in this place of like, is this what I want? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And I think I'm just being delusional in the way of just being okay with the fact that I'm not sure, and like not like having to figure it out, and like just accepting that I might be in a transitional period right now, and that's either 5 years from now or 5 weeks from now, but just being okay with not knowing like what is right for me right now, and it might be where I'm at and I'm just not feeling it right now, or maybe it's like I'm starting to wake up to something else. Like, I don't know.
Feeling that way with all of your jobs, or okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm feeling the only thing that I'm like loving, looking forward to is this right now, which is great.
I know,
and, like,
this is like number one on my list too.
No, literally, I get so excited. And I don't know, I think it's like a creative outlet, and maybe I'm recognizing that's something that I've always been passionate about, and I just told myself I couldn't make money at these things I was interested in, and now I am making money at things I'm somewhat interested in, but I don't feel like passionate as much as I should, and I think I'm starting to like get exhausted on the sales side of things, which I always just did because people told me I was good at them. I would always like quickly become one of the best salespeople in every company I was in, and like I enjoyed being good at things, but I'm starting to recognize that's like maybe more of a pattern of like a inner child thing that I learned when I was playing sports, and my dad was super hard on me, and the
like,
best.
You have to be perfect at everything.
And even then you could be a little bit better. So I think it's just like sort of exhausting, and I'm just going down that path of like, does that mean I stay where I'm at and I change my mindset, or is it I change my whole life up and like see where that takes me, or just be open to new opportunities that are maybe not what I expect.
That is like so heavy and real, and like literally what I've been going through, and what so many other people have been going through as well. Like, it's just so hard to balance like passion versus like money, and like you said, like, do I change my mindset? Like, maybe it's me. I feel like I went through that a lot with Insight Global, and just being like hard on myself, and being like, I need to be more positive. It's like, no, like at the end of the day, like don't put yourself through hell.
No, exactly. I think in general, until I'm clear on things, I'm just gonna be delusional in the fact of like life will show me the way kind of thing. Like what's meant to be will find me, and as long as I'm just like doing the things I need to do to like move forward and be content in my day-to-day life, then the rest I think will come. And if it doesn't, I think eventually it will I will know, because I mean, I think actually the topic we have today is like part of the thing that I need to do more consistently in order to find out what's missing, I guess, and what actually I want to be doing. So
I was literally just talking to a coworker about this like 2 days ago, and he was saying kind of the same thing. Like, I don't really know what I'm doing or what direction I'm headed into, but I feel like I'm just going to be open to the opportunities and wherever it takes me. And he was like, obviously I want to be more successful and making more money, but we were both saying that a lot of people have that mindset, and they're always looking for the next thing, and like, how can I be more successful, that you kind of lose sight of enjoying the present moment, and you're always longing for something else, which in turn like makes it like not a like, or how do you say that, like
not attainable,
deters it away from you almost, you know, like
My thought on like burnout is that like I feel like burnout is not actually just like, oh, I'm tired, I'll get back into it. I feel like it's this like you're like, you put a goal forward, and then as soon as you reach it, and maybe you celebrate it for a second, maybe you even don't, you just like move the goalpost. I just think that gets exhausting. Yeah. And if you're not content in the everyday struggle of getting to that goal, the goal does not matter. Right. Genuinely. So like you kind of have to figure out what is it that you like working towards. Of course, like you're going to want to be excited to work towards something, and like whatever that is, be excited when you get it. But like every day is working towards it. You maybe get the goal for a day. Like what kind of life is that? You're going to spend like one day a year being excited? Yeah. I don't know. That's my current perception on that, which is very different from my work hard, play hard, like totally get there and like as fast as you can. And you know.
It's so funny because I've actually like been withholding like 2 compliments from you. Oh. But this like perfectly ties into it. But well, one of them is random, but I'll stay on track for a second. The one that like I was talking to my roommates the other night. We were just it was Monday night. We were having a roomie night, and my roommate asked us, who do you look up to success wise, whether it be like somebody in your life or just like a famous person or whatever. Yeah. And like you immediately came to my mind. I was like, so happy. Bri like works so hard, and like I don't want you to feel like this is even more pressure to like uphold that, but like truly I have seen you like put your mind to something and make it happen, and you're just like so good with people and like the sales aspect and all of it. And I feel like you will put in the work and like heads down and like not complain about it also. And I've seen you kind of go from maybe not a place that you wanted to be in to a place that you were like happy about. So I know that you can do that again. And if you want to change your style, like that's awesome too. And
yeah, it's just super fun. Terrifying, but thank you. Yeah, that's really sweet. And I feel like that's how I looked at myself for a while, of like, okay, like I work hard and I'm proud of that. Like I attain these goals, I'm proud of that. Right. But I think I fell into like what I like, that sort of burnout, and now I'm not coming out of it.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel the same way. Like I just have never felt that the way to my success is to work extremely hard to the point where yes, I'm like burnt out. Yeah. Like I feel like success can come easily too, you know, like 100%. There are 17-year-old TikTokers that are making millions
100K a damn month. I'm like, what?
All they did was just be a little silly and post a little TikTok.
Exactly.
So like success does not have to be like busting your balls grinding all day every day.
Well, I'm so excited that we're like kind of growing up into like our, you know, late 20s, early 30s, and like this like creative era that was like so not a way to make money. But yeah, I think I appreciate the compliment. I think that's one of those things where you just sometimes you redefine like your version of success, and so I feel like regardless, that's a like really kind compliment. So thank you.
Yeah, and I feel like it's like an ongoing, like forever changing journey that people go through. Even like my mom recently retired, and she's like, maybe I'll like work at a flower shop, like, you know, like
now what?
Yeah, you know, I just feel like it's something like, because it's the majority of like what you do and how you spend your life, so it's going to continue to be a journey, and you can continue to change and redirect it and redefine it.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Wait, what's your Delulu?
Oh wait, but I have to give you your second compliment.
What, just me trying to move on before you get there?
This is so random, but my roommates and I were like talking about you, and Courtney was like, I feel like she reminds me a lot of like Kendall Jenner. Like she looks like Kendall Jenner, and like has her mannerisms. And I was like, she is gonna love that you said that.
Kendall Jenner's my fucking favorite.
Literally,
I'm obsessed with her ways.
Like, oh, I cannot wait to tell Bri. She's gonna love that compliment.
That's the best compliment. No, I actually religiously watched Keeping Up with the Kardashians, and I feel like she's not in it enough, and I'm like sad about it.
She's like the best one. I love her.
She is. Oh my god, wow, what a compliment. Well, tell her thank you for me.
I will.
That was really kind. Also, speaking of thank yous, to Wanda, we're wearing our bracelets.
Oh yes, yes, we should give Wanda a shout out.
gorgeous Lucia bracelets and was just like the kindest thing. Like,
we really appreciate just like the support we've been getting from our friends, and Wanda in particular. Thank you so much. We like really appreciate and love you, and it just means the world. Like, we're both starting a passion project, and it can be such a vulnerable place to be in, and we're learning and growing. And speaking of learning and growing, we want to apologize about our last episode because that was a fucking shit show.
Quite a mess. We're not proud of it.
We had to record twice, and the recording is just nowhere to be found, and we cannot figure it out. So we had to post the video that we recorded. So obviously the audio quality is just not going to be the same. So it was just like a huge bummer all the way around, and we're sorry. And we really hope that never has to happen again.
Like, don't hit us with any like hate. This one person on TikTok always messages us from the beginning because we didn't know how to put the audio with the video. And this one guy, he has an ostrich like photo. And I'm like, what is happening? And he messages us always and goes, turn the fucking mics on. And like the episode before the last one, we figured out how to do that. And then we immediately regressed. So we apologize. And another thing, I haven't even told you this. I looked on Spotify today. We have 7 5-star reviews.
Amazing.
And then, like, I can't see who they're from, or like they don't say anything. They're just like ratings. Like someone went on and just did like a 5. So if that was our friends or our other listeners, thank you. Like, that is so cool.
That is awesome.
I was like, what? Ooh, 5 stars only, baby. Please don't come for us on the last episode.
For real. Okay, sweet. Well, glad that we got that out of the way. Okay, my delusional thing also really ties into our topic, which we want to talk about, like, being lonely and how to deal with being alone. Yeah. So I decided to be delusional, and I'm going to go on weekly date nights with myself.
Oh my God. I was wondering, I was like, I feel like Lucia, after this episode, is going to do like a dinner alone.
That is so funny.
I don't know why. I just was like, she's the one who could do it out of the two of us.
I was like, totally inspired just like thinking about this episode and I don't know, doing, I guess, my research. But
no, literally same.
It's just like something I've always wanted to do and do a little bit more seriously. And I think I've really fallen off of spending time with myself and being okay with it. Like when I am alone, I am uncomfortable, and I want to get to a place where I do it and I love it. And I think my goal by the end of the summer is to like actually like go out and like sit at a bar, like sit at dinner by myself.
I love that.
Yeah.
See, I do feel like being alone is like a practice. It's like a skill.
Yes.
And when I was doing my quote research as well, there was this quote on one of these podcasts. I don't even remember which one it was. I think like Jay Shetty was quoting some author. So I'm sorry, whoever it is that said this, but basically said that like loneliness is like when you are alone and you feel weak. But solitude is when you are alone and you feel strong.
I love that.
And I just love, like, I feel like we do really negatively connotate being alone.
Yeah.
And also there's like this strange thing of saying like, oh, once you're in a relationship, you won't ever feel alone or lonely. Like, that's not the case either.
Yeah. No, I know. So, I love that we have different perspectives that we can give on this. And I was going to say the same thing. Like, I love that. I know that you've been kind of experiencing it recently and you are in a relationship, and I feel like it's a common misconception, or even that people just don't talk about it or are afraid or embarrassed to talk about it because I don't know who wants to share that they're lonely or experiencing loneliness. Like, that's embarrassing. But it's not. It's not.
No, it's like this weird thing of like, dude, when I see someone alone, like out at the bar, I'm like, I don't think twice about it. And if I do, I think like, wow, that's cool that they did that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. The only time I'm like, ooh, I feel bad is if it's like an old man and, you know, his wife died. That's when I'm sad. Yeah, but if there's like some hot girl at the bar by herself, I'm like, go off, queen.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
100%.
I don't know why in our own heads we like make it, oh, everyone's looking at me and I don't have any friends. And I don't know, like you like negatively steamroll yourself about it.
Well, I think we were like taught just like, well, I think we weren't taught like how to socialize and be alone as, I don't know, young adults or anything like that. It's like, it's all about like, being liked by your peers and like social pressures and like, do you have friends? How many friends do you have? Like all this stuff. So I feel like just the older generations never learned or taught the younger generations like how to go on a date by yourself with yourself and how to enjoy that time and that solitude and be comfortable with it. Yeah. So yeah, anyways, I'm going to start doing that. I think I'm literally going to start this week and go, I'm going to start with like getting in and out and like going and watching the sunset on the cliffs by myself. And I'm going to push myself to like get out of my car, get a blanket, like actually like wear a cute outfit, like dress up for myself. Yes. So I'm going to do that. And
are you going to be like no music, no podcasts, absolutely
that's
silent?
A good question.
Or are we bringing a book? Are we bringing a journal? What are we thinking?
I might bring my AirPods just in case, but I think I am going to try to like just sit there and enjoy the peace and people watch and have fun.
I used to do that low key when when I was single too.
Yeah.
I do it a little bit now. Like whenever I'm like, oh, like, you know, either like my fiance's not gonna be home, my friends are all busy, I'll just like go to the beach and I'll walk by myself and I don't wear my AirPods. And I like noticed this is before we even thought about doing this episode. I just noticed that it would like bring my mood up because when I'm out around people, I don't feel as alone, like at all. Yeah. I feel connected. I feel like that's where it comes from. I feel like it's not a negative thing to feel lonely. I think we all crave human connection, but it doesn't have to come from like the person for you or like or your best friend. Like it can literally just be like you out at a coffee shop, like reading a book or like you at the beach and like your other people are gonna be watching the sunset and you're like journaling, like you're around other people. Or when I walk and I like smile at couples walking by, I'm like, I just feel connected to the world again. And I feel like that's part of it.
No, totally. I feel like it's a lot of it is about learning how to spend time with yourself, and that's like why I'm wanting to do these dates, like instead of just like sitting at home and kind of like moping around and being like sad and like what do I do and like I'm alone and it's a Friday night and whatever, like okay, like get up, like go do something. And you don't have to have people with you to go do something, and you don't have to be in a relationship to go do something. And whatever it is, like take yourself to the movies, like go to that restaurant you've been always wanting to try, anything like that. And obviously it is scary, and I think once you get used to it and start doing it more and more, it'll just become more normal and more comfortable. And I'm literally right there in it with you if you're experiencing this as well. So I'm going to push myself, and I'll report back on like how my weekly date nights are going and whatnot.
I'm obsessed with this. Yeah. That's awesome.
Do you want to like share more about what you've been going through?
Yeah. So just for background, my fiance, he's like, I'm like, I hate that word. I'm like, boyfriend, whatever the hell he is. He, well, he's probably not going to be anymore. So this is going to be even more interesting because I'm going to do it like on purpose. But he was working at a restaurant and also like sort of bartending.
Also so crazy that you get to call him your fiance now.
I don't know. It's like a weird thing. I don't like it. Like, I feel like I don't like that. It's such a fancy
I heard somebody say it the other day that like referring to Stefan as your fiance. I was like, wow. It's
so weird. It's still so weird. I'll like look and I'm like, whoa. Or like I'll be like, I went to a coffee shop before this because I got here way too early. I was trying to avoid the traffic, and I was just like, you know, when you like notice people like looking at you kind of thing, and usually it's like, oh, that's flattering or whatever, but I'm like noticing, I'm like, did they notice that I'm wearing a ring? Because then I'm like acutely aware of it, and then I'm like, this is so weird, like it's so different. Whereas like I'd have to be like, oh, sorry, like I have a boyfriend.
Now all you have to do is just like
don't look at me. No, but anyway, he has been working, part-time, trying to get like where he really wants to be, like off and going, and that's like seeming to be happening, which is super exciting for him. But for a little while, he was like gone 4 nights a week, and not all of my friends are available 4 nights a week to entertain me.
And we all are pretty separated.
Yeah, like everyone's kind of like far away, and I would drive down, but I just feel like it was sort of, there was that, and like I would know when he was gonna work. But let's say like he didn't work on a Friday night and his friends wanted to hang out. Like he's working when he's not with me.
Right.
I'm just not with him. So like I'm like wanting to hang out, but then I'm like I want to be respectful of like when I'm like I have a girls' night. Like if he were to ever be like upset about it, I'd be like, well, we have a huge problem. Like absolutely not, you know?
Yeah.
So I want to be as supportive to him about that. And I recognize that like his free nights are also halved. And like he doesn't get to like choose between me and friends and that's it. It's like work or me, work or friends. It doesn't get to be all of the above all the time. So I would just find myself like last minute he's gonna be like, oh, the guys are doing this, and I'm like, oh, I want to like let him, but I'm like, could you not have planned that a little earlier? But I know like guys are guys.
Yeah.
And I would just find myself like, oh my god, like I was expecting to hang out and it's a Friday night and all my friends are doing this or that or they're out of town or whatever, and there's like it's too late to make plans, like everyone's busy.
Yeah, and then you just like immediately feel that FOMO of
yeah, and that was getting difficult for me to like deal with. But I do think I recognized, I think, like, especially thinking about this episode, that when I'm so afraid to be alone, I feel like there's a reason. I think, like, at the end of the day, there's a lot of nights I'm super stoked to be alone and, like, just, like, I'm going to watch Love Island. I'm going to, like, hang out. I'm going to just, like, have a great time.
Right.
But I think it's been especially hard because I don't think I want to be alone and like face this whole like I don't know what I'm doing with my life, like I'm in this great spot, what's wrong, like sort of gaslighting myself of like, no, be like a hard worker, but no, like do what you're passionate about, but you're making good money, why are you complaining, like you know what I mean, like there's just like I like don't want to deal with those thoughts kind of thing.
It's very scary.
Yeah, so I think I get like not only is it FOMO, but I'm like fucking terrified to like address those feelings. But I think at the end of the day, like nothing can change until you know about yourself and what you want. Like I think at the end, when I got out of that last relationship, I remember just like this is like I wrote down like what I wanted in a relationship. I was like I never did anything I wanted to do. I'm going to do what I want all the time. And I like just truly lived that out.
Right.
And then I think I've just been that person that's like kind of serial monogamy, continued into like relationships most of my life and have never known how to maintain that. Like I know how to be independent in a relationship, but I'm always like excited to hang out with them. And then like when I need to deal with something, I don't think I do because I'm just like, oh, I have all these relationships I can put myself into instead of my own.
Yeah.
But truly, like, if I want to know what's up, what I really want, like, I actually have to, like, listen to myself. And how am I going to do that if I'm never, ever alone?
Yeah.
So I feel like my kind of thought around being alone that I've come to, like, through kind of, like, just, like, doing some research for this podcast is, like, you can't, like, create change unless you know what you want. You can't figure out what you want if you're not alone. So you really just have to practice being alone and like recognize it, like the loneliness side is temporary, and like this is like it's kind of like what we talked about with self-love and like rewiring your brain. It's like rewire your brain to recognize like when you're alone, this is a time that's positive, like this is gonna enact change in your life because you're gonna listen to what you truly want and you'll be able to hear whether you're in the right place or not. And instead of thinking like, oh my god, it's negative, it's lonely, it's like, oh my god, I have no friends, or like, you know, all this like horrible things you could say, you could just be like, yay, like I get to like go sit by myself, watch the sunset, and just like check in, like how am I feeling?
Truly.
So
there's such that scary aspect of being alone with your thoughts, and I think a lot of us are scared about like where our thoughts are gonna go and just the negative dark hole and all the negative things that we talked about last episode as well. But I think it is so important to be able to learn how to sit with yourself, even if it's just for 5 minutes, and like letting yourself feel all the feelings that you're avoiding. It's going to feel so much better to like sit there and feel it and process it versus continuing to avoid it. And then all of a sudden it's like built up an anxiety inside of you. If you sit with yourself for a second, feel the feelings, whatever is going on in your life that you need to process, work through, even if it's literally just being about like, oh, I wish I wasn't alone right now. Like sit with yourself. Why are you so afraid to be alone? And again, going back to what we talked about last episode, like trying to create a safe space within yourself so that you feel so comfortable. And like you said, like, I love the word solitude, like strong in your solitude, because you are a safe space and you always have your back and you're always going to make yourself feel comfortable and loved. And once you process this and like go through this and practice doing this, I feel like that's what helps you to get through this fear of being alone or being lonely. Or I think it can also be multifaceted of maybe you're sad about not having friends to hang out with, and that's like a whole other avenue to talk about and go down. And we can talk about like different ways of kind of like putting yourself out there in that regard. But at the end of the day, like, you shouldn't have to constantly distract yourself with other people or other things or your phone or Netflix or whatever. Like, sit with yourself for a second and just like test out, see what happens, see what comes up, maybe journal about it, maybe meditate about it.
Yeah. There's this thing I was reading about that was like this meditation guy who's talking about it as if it was like an inbox, and like how like in the beginning it's like you open it and it's like a million emails and you're like shutting it, but if you like go through it and actually start to like sift through, eventually that gets less and there's only like a couple to deal with in the future. And like it can be like drinking through a fire hose in the beginning, and then it gets easier, and then it's so empowering to be connected to yourself on that deep level.
And then I think you can almost learn how to communicate with yourself and your intuition and that inner voice. And like for you right now, being like, okay, what is my next step forward? And just like sitting in silence with yourself and seeing if your voice like says anything back to you.
Like, have I just been saying it and not listening inside?
Exactly. Like just let it be quiet and still for a second. And I think that's so beautiful. And it's definitely not easy, because I think we're scared to just go there, but it's also not that bad once you do it. And I feel like it makes it better in the long haul to just like, again, like process.
Well, and it's like what we've been talking about, right? Like, you bring the perspective of being like single and experiencing it like that in the dating world, and like I'm bringing the perspective of like being in a relationship and you still feel it. So like it's clear that it doesn't go away. You don't get it like find that person and then it's over. Like again, like it's kind of morbid. Like, you only have yourself. Like, you have to think about too. I feel like this is also where codependence comes from, and sometimes I can find myself in that, where I'm like, whoa, like I'm making decisions because I'm like, oh, he'll be home, so I'll do this then. And I remember even like recently I had the conversation of like, okay, like obviously this is ending, but in the future, like even if this wasn't, at this point moving forward, like after me being open about it being hard for me and him being like, I'm fine alone. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, why am I? He's like great and solid. He's like an only child and he was like really brought up that way. So I feel like he's like, I'm like totally chill. I'm like, I wish, you know?
Right.
But I just was like, you know what? Why was I always like, okay, whenever he's away, like, let me like get everyone else's schedule to meet that. Like at this point, like the codependent stuff needs to like, you know, like relax, I guess. And that like, I think that just happens when you don't truly understand where you're at. And you're not alone enough. And then if you're not comfortable being alone, then like wherever that person is, and then you want to be with them all the time. You can't like really break yourself out of it. You don't like know what's important to you. Don't know your boundaries.
Right.
You don't know what you want to go do in life. It continues in your relationships. And if you work on it now and you can work on it in a relationship, you can work on it out of a relationship, and it will honestly make your relationship stronger because you're not going to be like making these decisions so heavily off of this person. And then if you guys break up, you're not in fucking shattered a million pieces because they were your everything. Or, you know, life is horrible. Like, what if you lose them and you're like 40 or something? Like, you need to have an identity. So I just feel like, being alone is like, builds that.
That's something I've been working on my whole life. I've definitely been an anxious attachment person, a codependent person. And I think when I meet somebody, I kind of just like put my whole identity in life into them and to us as a couple. And so I'm definitely learning how to like detach and not do that anymore. And I feel like loneliness in my life in general has kind of just like ebbed and flowed, and it's had sometimes to do with like my living situation. Like when I lived alone in Portland, like I loved it, but also I remember when I was sad and going through things, like it was really lonely because it was just like you just come home and it's just yourself. And I remember just feeling that like empty pit in my stomach feeling of like, oh, like I feel so uncomfortable. And then now it's just funny because I'm living with 3 other girls and it's so fun because I'm constantly having distractions and people to hang out with and people to talk to, somebody to ask me how my day was when I got home. But now I'm recognizing that any slight moment that there is where everybody's out of the house for whatever reason, then I'm like, whoa, it's like really quiet in here and like it's just me and what do I do? And then I'm like automatically sad and that's so weird. I'm like, I find that interesting. Fix that
because like I've always been like that. Like my family is so, I mean, my parents are like that. Like they need their friends to hang out with them like multiple times a week. Like I notice that they're like that. And then I've always lived with a bunch of people and like I've always been in relationships. Like it's like I've had very short, less than a year stints of being single. And so I think like I thought that was just how I was. I thought I was like, I need people all the time. And then as I got older, I was like, I don't think I do. Like I actually kind of like being alone sometimes, and then sometimes I don't. But when you lived alone in Portland, I was like, how does she do it? I was like in awe of you. I was like, this girl's strong. Like I don't know. I was like scared of it, I guess.
Yeah. It was definitely like a really good experience for me to go through because I think I did like learn a lot about myself. But I think specifically like when I was going through a breakup is when it was the most difficult, because then again, like I felt that void of not having that person in my life anymore. And then like on top of that, I'm like living alone. But again, that ties into everything we've been saying, like not putting all of your time and energy and worth into somebody else, because then again, when they leave, then that void happens. So it's a freaking journey, man.
It's a doozy.
There is this book that I have not read yet, but that I've heard good things about. And that I'm going to...
We'll recommend it.
I'm going to get and bring it with me on some of my little alone dates, but it's called How to Be Alone by Lane Moore. And she was on Girls Gotta Eat. That's kind of how I learned about it. And they have a podcast about being alone, and they talk with her. So I don't know, just kind of like looking into different resources as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I know like we talked a little bit about like go on like a walk or whatever. Like also like you can exercise, you can go to like group classes. We love ClassPass so much. I love ClassPass. I do like the one that's like $69 a month, and like I feel like people pay for these like $200 a month like Pilates things, and I'm like, oh my god, it's literally like $60 or $70 for like plenty of classes. And then you can always like, I don't know, you don't even have to make friends, you can just like be around other people when you do that.
And even if it is an issue of not having friends, because I feel like I've been there before too. Like when I first moved to San Diego, it was like a little bit rough just because I didn't have like a group yet. Like I had you, and then it was like I wasn't gonna put all of my, I don't know, eggs into you. You know what I'm saying? Like I can't just depend on Bri. Like I have to be my own person and like make my friends. So that was kind of challenging at first, and I think Chris is honestly a great example of like putting yourself out there and meeting new people with like Bumble BFF. I've heard
always
great
out
things
there
about.
on Bumble BFF. I actually met some of them at Duck Dive, and they're so kind. And I was like, I love them. I love them.
A friend in Chicago, and she did the same thing when she moved out there. She just went on Bumble BFF and has like a few friends from that. And I think it's a great resource when you're like in a new city and you don't know anybody. And I think that can be also like a large contributor to loneliness. Like maybe you are comfortable with being by yourself, but not every single night of the week, and that's totally understandable. So I think just challenging yourself in that sense to put yourself out there a little bit more, maybe even just like at your workout class or wherever you are in public, just like maybe trying to be a little bit more open and friendly to people instead of like putting your headphones in and
looking
like head down
phone, looking away.
Like, just say hi to somebody, and, like, you never know. Like, it might kind of create a funny connection and turn into a friendship.
Yeah, and even like I feel like you could do like you could just show up to a cooking class, you can do like a painting class, like there's so many things I think that are out there that you can do.
Yeah.
Or even if like come home, like clean, reorganize your house, like move stuff around, like make your like living situation feel like comfortable and
Right.
something you're proud of. And I also just feel like we should be clear, like we're not even expecting this to like take away from the fact that like we do all need human connection. That's the point of I feel like that's truly the point of our existence. But that doesn't just mean like, yeah, you're finding your significant other, or like you have to be with your best friends, or nothing. Like there's all these things you can do to connect with people and just like, yeah, get out of your own head. We're kind of like just like so spoiled with distractions that I think like it starts to get like almost, we don't even recognize like, oh my God, it's almost like like a, what's it called when you like need gratification right away?
Validation.
Instant gratification.
Instant gratification. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that's the thing
Mm-hmm.
with like the being alone, and like you start to feel lonely. It's like almost like it all floods in so fast. The same way like, yeah, you like open up Instagram, open up TikTok, and like you can just so easily distract yourself. So I feel like you just aren't even used to being completely just like listening to your own mind and alone. Like even if you're just like on a car ride, you're listening to a podcast or like whatever. I don't know. I just think it's interesting. Like,
and I don't think it's a one step fix all journey as well. Like it's going to take time. It's going to take trying different things and learning like what works best for you to be able to feel that comfort with yourself. And I was telling my roommates that we were going to record this topic, and I was talking about like specifically like when I moved to San Diego and how that was like a scary but exciting transition. And like, I did experience some loneliness in that time. And one of my roommates was like, what did you feel like got you through that or got you past that? And I think that it was multiple things, like, like building up like my friend group and my friend base. But I also remember like taking myself to the beach like alone, which is actually like something that I learned from you. I remember you did that
all
like,
the time. Loved it.
Yeah.
I should do it more again.
And I remember one time I took myself to the beach and I like just cried. And it was like so therapeutic. Yeah. And I feel like it was much needed and like really healthy. And so these things may come up when you start to spend time with yourself, and it may be scary because of that, but it's so healthy and it really helps you to again process and get through the feelings and stop avoiding them.
I feel like you actually have no idea what's going on. Like if you really listen, what you're saying just reminds me like every like 3 to 4 weeks I go and see this physical therapist who's also like kind of like Eastern medicine, like somatic, like holding tension in your body. How do you release it? How do you handle that? Resourcing, like all these different things. And I started going to her for my back, but like I started to recognize like this is the only hour every like 3 to 4 weeks that I truly just like sit silently with this woman who's like she's a godsend. I'm obsessed with her, but like it's kind of uncomfortable. She lets me sit there in silence and like helps me like literally release tension like in my lower back or whatever. And this last one was like my like quads have been super tight literally for no reason, like quite literally no reason. And she's like she made my hands were like sitting on there. She's like, that's great, keep them there. She's like, just listen and see if anything comes up. I just started crying. And I was like, and it was definitely about this whole like I don't know where I'm supposed to be thing. And what's beautiful about like her is that she's, you know, sort of like also a therapist, right? So like I'm sitting there, just she's asking me to describe it after it's been a while, and she knows, she can see like I literally will get like,
what are you feeling?
And so then I'll just vocalize it,
right? And
I just think if I were to be doing that like at least once a week instead of every 4 to 5 weeks, like I think things would become more clear. And like, why do I wait till that appointment to feel that?
Right.
So like I think it's beautiful that you take yourself to the beach and cried. Like those are just things like everyone needs to just listen, because you have no idea what's under the surface that's causing you to feel how you're feeling.
I experienced like pretty much the exact same thing when I did brain spotting with my therapist. I think I told you about this, but like I haven't been seeing her anymore because she was like through my old work, but I would do brain spotting sessions with her, and essentially you literally just stare at a spot on the screen, because I'm like connecting with her over Zoom, but you stare at a spot at the screen and you just like let whatever come up, and it seems silly. It seems like, okay, you're just staring, like, what could possibly come up, but you'd be surprised.
Yeah,
all of a sudden you are in waterworks, and she's like, okay, like, what are you feeling? Where are you feeling it in your body? And I'm like, it's in my chest, and I don't know, and I'm like so sad, and this from my childhood is coming up. She's like, like, what
you're like,
voodoo
what
magic
sorcery are you doing to me
literally
right now? That's how I feel. I'm like, are you like, how are you doing this?
Literally just like sitting and staring at a spot on the wall for a second, which is wild, but
so crazy. So all that to say, there's a lot underneath the surface, and if you just let it breathe every once in a while, you might feel a little bit more content being alone.
Exactly. And I think one more thing to add, another aspect of loneliness that I think a lot of people go through and that I also experienced was just my own specific childhood difficulties and traumas. Like, I think growing up, I felt really lonely in my experience, and I didn't think that anybody else was going through it, and fair enough, like, I don't think anybody else had my exact experience, but I think what I've learned through just becoming an adult is that people are really receptive to me talking about my experience in my childhood, and it's really healthy for me to talk about it, to process it, because I think that's another thing that I like really shoved down. And then also you'd be surprised to find out what other people have shared experiences with you and their own childhood trauma. Like, maybe they have completely different parent-childhood situation, but they're able to relate to you on whatever level. So I think that's another thing to really touch on, is that maybe you feel alone in that aspect, but trying to encourage yourself to open up more, not be afraid to talk about it to your friends and your loved ones, because if they're your friends, they are going to be there for you to talk about it and be open to I don't know, sharing their own experiences as well.
Yeah. I also think, because, I mean, similarly, like, when I started sort of thinking about, like, why am I so afraid to be alone? And, like, there's things that definitely, like, happened when I was a kid that I have internalized. And I think I've touched on them in the podcast a little bit, of, like, bullying stuff. But even, like, just thinking about the fact that, like, I was in my mom's stomach when she got left. I mean, like, dude, do you know what I mean? And then I'm like alone with just her for 5 months. Like, you have to imagine what she was going through sort of impacted me. And, like, I notice how I am off of that. And if you're not 100%. Alone to really sit and think about that, like, I think that helps you then be really honest with people about, like, now I can, like, directly say, like, this, I'm feeling this because of that, and this is why I'm doing this. Or, like, you can just open up to your friends about it, because you've already confronted it within yourself. It's a lot less scary when you're comfortable with it in your own self. And if you say it out loud and they don't care, or they don't react how you think they will, it doesn't matter. You've already, like, made it okay inside yourself. You don't have to, like, put it out there and, like, hope, like, oh, what's the reaction now, because I'm so scared to share this. It's like you've already made peace with it in your own body. So I feel like being alone ties into even that. Yeah, exactly. And I think people are really receptive to hearing about different and unique and human experiences. Like, at the end of the day, we're all human, and you're having this human experience, and nobody's going to be like, ew, what? You went through that as a child? Gross. Yeah. What the hell's wrong with you? That was obviously your fault. Like, no, I feel like that's what we say in our heads, though. Yeah. What do we tell ourselves to not be open and honest? Like, I don't know. I think, like, I don't know, like, maybe take this as a homework assignment to go sit alone and listen to this podcast. Reflect a little bit, journal a little bit after listening to this. Like, what came up for you while we talked about this? Any demons? Let us know. Tell us your secrets. Well, at the end of the day, like, you aren't alone, though. Yeah. You know, like, we're all going through the exact same thing, which is crazy, too. And so I think
leaving on that note, like, you're not alone at the end of the day.
No, and I think, I don't know. I agree. I feel like you're part of the whole human experience. If you really think on it in like an energy level of like, we're all connecting with each other.
Yes.
We're all like vibrating on these different energies, and we're all just matter. That's like, I don't know. It's hard to explain even, like, but we're connected, like, way more than we even can understand.
And that's why I think it's even nice with like the date thing of maybe just going out in nature and like sitting in a park or watching the sunset or whatever. Like, I think it's nice with that energy and connection thing. Like, it doesn't have to be to other humans. Like, you can literally just like sit and connect with the earth for a second, and even that feels so good.
Absolutely. And it's even like when you were talking about your going on a dinner thing by yourself, I saw this girl on TikTok the other day, and she was like literally vlogging her whole thing. She's like, I'm going out to dinner. She goes by herself. She sits down. She like says that this guy was bogging her, and then like, so she tells him to like F off basically. And then these other guys are like, do you want to like switch seats with us? And then she like becomes friends with them, and like they're German, and it's like they take her, and they like took her to these like crazy underground bars and stuff. And then that was just like her experience for the night. It was just literally because she sat alone, and she like was open to like she was comfortable being alone and put off that energy. And then when someone made her uncomfortable, she told them to fuck off. And then when someone who's being kind was kind to her, she welcomed that with open arms. So I feel like you have no idea what could happen if you're just alone for one night.
Traveling by yourself, I feel like, is totally the next step for me as well. Like, that would be so cool if I did that one day.
Yeah, I was literally driving here. I was like, Lucia would totally travel alone one day. I swear I could see it.
That's
awesome. Yeah, I feel like I would love to,
but future goal. I'm putting that one off a little bit longer.
We're taking baby steps. Okay, great. Thanks for listening.
Yes.
Thanks for rating us if you haven't already and you like our podcast.
Yes.
Supposedly it's helpful for other people to find it. So
100%.
Hit the 5-star button.
Thank you guys.
Subscribe.
And if you want to just like, I don't know, hit us up, say hello, chat with us a little bit in our DMs or whatever. I feel like we haven't heard from any of our listeners. Looking dry. And we'd love to hear any feedback, any comments, any delusional moments.
Yeah. All the above.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening. We love you guys.
Okay, bye.